Hi, thanks for joining us on the Nourishing the Community Podcast, where we're going to be talking about all things happening in the community with nonprofits and community needs and how you, the listener, can get involved and make some change. I'm your host, Ladawna Parham. This is my co-host,
Norman Hanks. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today at the Nourishing the Community Podcast. I'm Ladawna Parham with Nourish the Food Bank. Nourish the Food Bank. I really just said that with Nourish Food Bank. And joining me in the hot seat today is Jolene Radnoti with Read to Succeed. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here and in the hot seat.
Woo.
Are you ready for that? Are you ready for the intense questions? It's a very intimidating process.
I am. Looking at you, it does make me a little nervous because you're just so put together and I'm
clearly.
all over the place.
Clearly in my sports headband. Well, thank you. I think that for me, I've been super excited to have you on here. I think a whole lot of people in this community have no idea that you're here and all the amazing work that you do and how huge a need this is in our community and all the different aspects of somebody's life that are impacted by the work that you do. And so I'm hoping you can just tell us everything and then tell us how we can get involved and help.
Well, thanks. The crazy thing is, this is our 20th year. We have been a nonprofit in Rutherford County for 20 years.
That's amazing.
It is
Congratulations
amazing.
and
Well,
happy
thank
anniversary.
you. Yeah. We actually did a little bit of celebrating when we had our one and only fundraiser, the Celebrity Bee, this past November. But 20 years, it just, to be honest, I wish we weren't at our 20th. I wish we were done and that we had a more literate society.
Right.
But the need, as we all are driving through Murfreesboro, know that we are growing rapidly because it takes you 40 minutes to go 2 blocks.
Yes.
And so with that growth, the growth of folks that are not where they need to be with their literacy levels are increasing rapidly. Ladawna, when I started here 6 years ago, I've been with Read to Succeed 6 years. It was 1 out of 6 adults are at or below a 3rd grade reading, writing, and math level. Wow. It's now 1 out of 5.
Wow.
So it's a crazy thing.
Yeah,
so
that's amazing.
And our folks in our community, back in 2003, Paul Vaughn, he was with the Jennings Rebecca Jones. He is the late Paul Vaughn. He and a group of folks, Dr. Linda Gilbert, Ronnie Shaw, the Shacklets, Lee Remick. There were so many folks that they could see that the schools needed more help. You can teach all day long, but if they go home and they don't have the support or support throughout the community, that child is not going to grow and nurture, especially through literacy. So they knew that there needed to be something else to supplement and enhance what is going on at the schools. And they kept working on it. And then the initiative was born, Read to Succeed. It started 2003 with Ronnie Shaw as the first executive director. She worked out of her home. They started just doing some things after school, reading and working with some kids after school, like in the ESP program at Murfreesboro City Schools. The very first Reading in the Schools Day happened that year. So if anyone's driving through our community in September and they see the sign across Main Street and they hear about folks coming to the elementary schools across the community to read,
That's where that started.
That's a Read to Succeed program. We still put it on. We buy thousands of bookmarks and stickers, and we take them to all the elementary schools where it says someone read to me today, and it has literacy facts, and we help get all of these volunteers to come and read to kids. And that started 20 years ago. Ronnie Shaw and her group of AmeriCorps Vistas. That's how she started out.
AmeriCorps, man.
Yeah. So it was Ronnie Shaw from her house, AmeriCorps Vistas. It started to grow. They started doing more with elementary schools, but then they saw what the other problem was, where you can work all day long, but if Johnny goes home and needs help read to and help with his homework, and Johnny's mom can't read to him, then so the adult literacy side was born. And as that kept growing, they moved out of their house, and First Baptist on Spring, Maine, they were wonderful enough to give space, office space to Read to Succeed. And they had like 2 sections, and it just kept growing. Like 4 or 5 people were in those 2 little rooms, and they just kept doing these programs off of Bridge Avenue. Now the fire department owned that area, but we partner with all the families in Bridge Avenue. We had an office there, and so after school, we came there. We helped with tutoring. We worked with city schools, and it was a great program and a great space for us to be, because we were readily there to help those kiddos. But alas, that space is no longer there. So we are continuing to do literacy through other programming. We still do the community events like Unplug and Read Month in February, which is coming up. We do Reading in the Schools Day, 6th grade Read to Bee, Spelling Bee. Let's see. We have so many in my head. We do the One Book, One Community Read, and then we're at all these events throughout the community giving free books away, helping build that home library. But, it started 20 years ago. Just one idea from a group of people. That initiative grew. And now we are doing, it's called Imagination Station, not to be confused with Imagination Library.
So Imagination
Stations are done monthly with Mid-Cumberland Head Start. And we're at the Case and Lane Pre-K. We read monthly to those kids, so they get the book read to them monthly, a chosen text. We do a fun literacy activity around that text with their families, their parents.
Okay.
And they get to take home a snack. So they are not just given a book or the book comes to their house. They are physically engaged around that book every month.
That's awesome.
A brand new book to help build that home library. And we model for the parents the best way to read to your kids. Don't read in a monotone, but get excited and make it a special time. Don't make it a chore. You're in trouble. Go to your room, read,
Right.
Make it fun.
I do think that's so easy for parents to do in this. And we all, have done that. If you're a parent at some point in time, you might not have said go read as a punishment, but you have taken electronics away or those other kinds of things. So then what they're left with are books. So they can sometimes equate that to a punishment, even if you aren't.
Yep.
Yeah.
So make it fun. Make it, like when my kids got good grades, that's what we did. We went to a bookstore and they got to go buy how many books for how many great, so I'd find them laying in the aisle, so we made it fun and engaging. That's what I think is an important thing as a parent, for them to see you read and for them to see you enjoy reading, like not a chore, and make it fun and special time. It's
Right.
imperative. So we model that. And we also do family literacy nights at elementary schools and some middle schools. I'll just say Northfield Elementary, they'll choose a grade band, like pre-K through grade 2, and they'll choose a book. Say it's like Pete the Cat. And so we'll purchase Pete the Cat, and we work with MTSU or Lipscomb or Trevecca pre-service teachers or folks going for their master's in teaching. They come up with, it's part of their syllabus, they come up with activities around that book to engage the parents. So the night of the family literacy night, we'll go to, say, Northfield. The kids will come in, they'll sign in, they get fed a meal by Read to Succeed, so they're sitting down together as a family unit.
That's
because
awesome.
That's hard to do,
It is very hard to do.
And there are some kids that don't get a regular meal. And so all the kids that are in that grade band from that school get to come for a free meal. And then we talk a little bit about literacy and how important it is, and they go off to those offices, those classrooms rather, and those MTSU, the pre-service teachers do a fun, engaging activity around the book. The book is read to them first, and then they get to do that fun engagement. Like we did Harness the Wind, and they made windmills.
That's cool.
It was really, it was so much fun. And then as they're leaving, so they've been fed, they get a brand new book, and as they're leaving, every child in that family unit gets to take home a gently used book for their home library. So the child of the night gets 2 books, and then their siblings get to bring home books.
That's
So
awesome.
again, we're highlighting the importance of reading, and reading every day matters for at least 20 minutes. And then we do culturally relevant high school book clubs. Think about it, Ladawna. How many kids would want to read, Little House on the Prairie now?
Right.
And
Because
could relate,
right.
you know? And so you don't want to read as you get older, and there's so much required reading. You don't want to read because of
Yes.
all the required reading, and because of, and there's, you're given things that don't interest you. So these high school book clubs, they're middle and high school, and actually we have 2 elementary schools. We call them KidLit. It's called Adolescent Literacy. AdLit is what we call it. The kids get to vote on the books. So you may have like Angela Jackson, like the very first one we piloted was The Hate That You Give at Riverdale. Those discussions are so powerful, and they're student-led, Socratic discussions that are student-led. And it's a safe space, and they feel like they're a part of something, and it really has helped these kids that are going through stuff at home. They're reading these books, and they can see themselves, because we feel at Read to Succeed, and most librarians feel, books should be mirrors, windows, and doors.
Absolutely.
So a lot of folks might what does she mean by that? So if I'm reading a book and all I keep reading are books with middle-aged male men, I'm not going to want to read that book. I don't see myself in that book. I don't, But
Right.
if I read something about a middle-aged female, I may want to read that book, So mirrors to see yourself, windows to see the outside world and things going on in the outside world so you could better understand.
Right. New
And doors to
perspectives.
go experience it in your mind, to go and experience it. So
I love that.
yes. So these book clubs are so powerful. And hearing a child say, that made me feel like somebody understood me. That made me feel seen. Or I felt vindicated, So they're dealing with so many issues that these book clubs are powerful.
I think it comes at a particularly poignant time as well with engaging with our libraries and accessing resources, because our libraries are so under attack right now, and literacy, quite frankly, is so under attack. And you've got groups that are trying to keep people from being able to read anything that might challenge them and help them grow in any way. And so I think it's great to develop that literacy piece, but also that love and passion for exploring, for looking through that window and walking through that door and seeing something outside of yourself. I think that's phenomenal.
Families aren't the way we had families figured, like when I was younger. It was, a mom, a dad, it's not that way anymore. And that's okay. And kids need to know that that's okay. So if there's a book out there and it has 2 moms in it, and it's about what the 2 moms are doing in a fun adventure with a family, and a child who has 2 moms reads that book, they feel connected to that book, and they feel understood, and they feel like they're a part of something. And I think
Right.
that's important to be out there. I think that if folks don't just judge a book by its cover, they need to read it.
Yes.
Read it,
Yeah.
and then put yourself in those, in someone else's shoes.
And people at different income levels than you, or maybe somebody's a single parent household, or all of
Right.
those different experiences. I feel like when we were growing up, we were kind of that era that was taught, every household doesn't look like yours, and learn to appreciate and value that. And there's such a swing in that. And now it's either people are very embracing of that or not embracing of that
Right.
at all. And then you've got kids who are stuck in the middle who are just trying to discover who they are
Right.
and their place in the world. So I think that's fantastic.
And I think that we should embrace all these authors that are writing their experiences, so that helps someone else understand theirs. It's not teaching them to do something, but it's letting them know that, hey, you're not the only one out there.
Well, it's like a book about dealing with loss in your family. parent or a grandparent passes away and they were a primary caregiver, and walking through that adolescence journey through that
Yes.
loss is not teaching them to go out and lose a grandparent, but
No.
it's processing and who are you
Right.
within that. So there's so many human experiences that most people do better when they can share an experience with another, even if it is just in the pages of a book. I think that folks can identify with youth and literacy, adolescence and literacy. Let's talk a little bit more about the adult literacy program, because I feel like folks in our community may not realize the scope of that work that you do and the impact and how it impacts so many pieces of their life. Can you talk a little bit about our
Yes.
adult literacy statistics and needs and programs?
So, as I said, like when I started, it was 1 out of 6 adults at or below a third grade reading and writing level. So that's functioning illiterate. Now it's 1 out of 5. So throughout your day, you're in contact with someone that struggles with literacy, but they're so smart and work so hard, and they're so private and so proud that, they don't let folks know this.
Right.
But the more we can get out there, and obviously us posting it on Facebook or whatever is not going to help, because if you're struggling with literacy. So it is a word of mouth that we provide all programming for free. We help folks. Yes, we help them get their high set, which was formerly GED. We can help them obtain their high school diploma for free. But that
That's
doesn't have to
fantastic.
be it.
Right.
It could just be, I have this job and I'm having to do a lot of math and I'm struggling with it. We can help with just that component. We can help with individual components. But our main goal is to make sure that everyone is where they want to be with their literacy, whether it is, getting their high set, or maybe they did get their high school diploma, because, sometimes people squeak through. College diplomas as well. We've seen folks. But we help them get whatever their literacy goal is. We match them with a tutor. We do an intake. We match them with that tutor, and then their journey begins. But it's not a one and done. Like, oh, I could get this done in 3 months. No, it takes a while. And if you say you're like in your 30s and you quit in 9th grade, quit high school, it's not going to be done, and it may take you a year. It may take, depending on how much work you put into it. So everything is confidential. We work with the folks, get them where they need to be, and we have amazing volunteers that we train to be tutors. They are a blessing, and they give them themselves freely. Now, we have another side as well. We have English as second language, or some people call it English language learners, but we also teach adults ESL. So we have ESL classes throughout the county. They are twice a week. We do them via Zoom and in person. So we're at Motlow in the evening, Motlow Community College in Smyrna. We're at First United Methodist Church off of Memorial. That's daytime. We're at First Presbyterian Church in the evening. And then we're at St. Rose on Sundays only. And then, we do online daytime and evening classes. So because right now, of immigrants in our community, 47% are not proficient in English. So that's causing difficulty communicating with schools, communicating with children, because the children actually sometimes lose their, native language, which would be the hardest, is not being able to communicate with your child. But communicating, just maneuvering through life in our community.
Right.
And people don't realize the lack of literacy, how much that costs us in healthcare. Like $232 billion in healthcare across the United States due to lack of literacy.
And why would you say that is? Like, what is that correlation?
Because people aren't reading, don't understand to read their stuff. They're not taking their medicines. They don't understand all that. So then they have further health problems. And if they're on certain programs, that are covered by, other folks to pay for those,
Right.
health issues.
Well, and lack of literacy or low literacy inherently leads to lower paying positions and
Yes.
lack of access to health care as well. So I'm sure that factors in. But I know that, at the food bank, we'll have people who are working 2 and 3 jobs and still aren't making ends meet because they're such low wage jobs because they have low literacy. And so,
Yes, I actually wrote a statistic so I could tell you. Workers who have less education than a high school diploma have the lowest median weekly earnings, $592, 3 times less than the highest level of education. 3 times less.
less. Yeah.
And folks that have the highest education are having a hard time to make ends meet.
Absolutely.
Rutherford County used to be, affordable place to live, and now folks are now moving out to McMinnville and everything. So if you're living here and you're doing the work, but
Yeah.
if you don't have the education to increase your employability, I would
Right.
say.
And your options are so limited. And so you said $592. So almost $600 a week, right? So we're talking $2,400 a month.
Yep.
And these are people who are fully employed.
Exactly.
And they're bringing in $2,400 a month. Now, let's look at rent in this county.
Oh yeah, it's
You know,
1,500 or
minimum.
yes.
$1,500. If you have a family that's renting, you're paying $1,500 in this
Yes.
community. So now for the whole month, you only have, what do we say, $2,400? So
Yes.
you only have $900 for the whole rest of the month for your vehicle, any insurance, gas, groceries, all of that. It
Right.
is not livable, and you're fully employed, but that is a piece of that is the impact of not having sufficient literacy to be able to move into those higher wage
Right,
positions.
which then in turn can help you feed your family.
Yes.
And housing, and it is like a domino effect. And I was at a meeting, and they had, how you have the parking lots all over the room, and they want you to say, well, what's the cause of folks, not being able to live in a house? What's the cause of folks not being able to get a job? So they're putting all these things down, and every one of them, I just wrote lack of literacy, I know I was driving people nuts, but if
It
you don't
impacts
have,
so many
that's the
areas.
foundation. Yes, you need food, you need shelter, you need clothing, but if you don't have the basic literacy needs or literacy understanding to help yourself obtain those things.
Right.
I'll give you a interesting story. Gentleman owned his own construction business, raised his children, put them through college, went away with his wife to a with a church couples retreat, and they were tasked to write a love letter to their spouse. And the gentleman who owned his own company, had, kids go through college, could not write that letter. And he told his pastor he struggled with literacy. But he ran his own business, a successful business, put his kids through school, but he couldn't write a love letter.
Right.
That pastor sent him to us. I'm sure he's writing love letters left and right.
Yes.
And also, the goal was also to be able to read the New King James version of the Bible. There's an NIV out there because I can't even read that, but you don't realize what people deal with. And for a parent, how are you going to admit to your child you can't help them with their homework?
Well, and we so try to role model for those kids, and you want them to look at you as something that they can aspire to. And it's not the end all be all. There's so much wonderful about a parent that has nothing to do
Right.
with their literacy. But when you are trying to help them with their homework and you can't read the question to assist them, as a parent, that has got to feel so tough. And you know that you aren't doing what you want to be able to do. And any parent would. They live and die by their kids. They would do anything for their kid. And to just in that moment know that that's a thing that you can't do for them, it just hurts my heart to think about for them.
And so what we do with we train our tutors. These are folks that volunteer of their time. They're amazing. They come in, they go through the training. And then once they're trained, we do intakes. And if the parameters, like I want to be with a male or a female or what have you, once we do that intake and the days and times fit, see, that's part of the problem why we have a waiting list is tutors and the learners, we just can't find the people that can do the hours. Some people
So
work
can
so
you use
crazy
more
shift work.
tutors?
Oh, definitely.
So that's a way
Definitely.
people can get involved as
Yes,
volunteering as tutors.
They can volunteer to be a tutor or ESL teacher, which is basically the same training. And we provide all the materials for the learners and the teachers. We have a coordinator that is there constantly to help. But yes, we are constantly looking for folks that would like to give of their time. So we like to say that it's not like a 3-month stint for adult basic education, which is the one-on-one, folks wanting their high set, or just certain goals. We ask for at least a 10-month commitment to a year for that. And then the same for ESL, it's a 10-month commitment. So
Okay.
we're off in the summer.
So they don't just show up and volunteer 3 hours and say, we
Right.
had a great day. Like it's an ongoing.
Yes. So English as second language starts in September, and it's like a regular school. They have a break in the at Christmas break, and then they come back in January and they go to May. So there's 2 semesters. They finish a whole book, one whole unit. So yes. So volunteers are huge. We've had since COVID, and I'm sure a lot of churches and nonprofits understand. Since COVID, volunteerism isn't the same.
Right.
We've had folks go through the training, they're all set, they do it like a month or two, and they're like, I'm missing these certain lunches or bunco group, and I've decided I don't want to do it. And I'm like,
Right. We invested all this
yes,
time and training.
Yes. So that is a problem. But we are seeing great things. I'll give you an example of how if we have a great tutor, everything works out, and that learner puts that time in and gives themselves the time. Don't put themselves on, I want this done at a certain time, because it does take time. Everybody learns at a different pace. Have you ever been to Zhao's over there by Sprouts? So Mark Zhao, the owner, he lived in Singapore, was transferred here, came to America when he was in high school, and it was too hard. So he quit school in high school, worked, did whatever at restaurants. But then he was getting married. He knew that he needed to make a better life for himself and his family. He needed his high school diploma. So he contacted Read to Succeed. We had an amazing tutor who actually lived in Woodbury, but came
up
out
to do
here.
that.
Yes,
That's great.
And worked with Mark. And then it was called the Rutherford County Adult Ed. Once he was ready, we partner with Rutherford County Adult Ed, get him ready, and he took his high set. Now he owns his own business, and it is the American dream.
Mm-hmm.
All because he knew he needed to do this to make a better life. It is out there, and we will do the best we can to help whomever needs that help to get them with the right person, and we will give them all the support they need, because we want them to have that freedom not to rely on someone else for that information. We want them to have that confidence, and we want them to be able to change their trajectory and change the lives of their families, and that makes them a more well-rounded citizen for our community.
That's fantastic. And I think that's such an amazing way for community members to be able to give back and change the viability of this community for their neighbors, coming and volunteering to do that. they would go to your website to find those opportunities?
Yes, www.readtosucceed.org. At the very top, there's a button it says volunteer. You click on that, and you fill everything out, and then we would let you know the next tutor training. We also look for office help or folks that want to help with us for our like imagination stations, family literacy nights.
So you have other opportunities that don't have.
Right.
If somebody can't do that 10-month commitment.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And we do a lot with the schools, like, the beta clubs and all the programs at all the schools where they need volunteer hours. We utilize them to come stamp books or what have you. So we are a staff of 3 part-time, and I'm the only full-time. And we're small but mighty, but we couldn't get it done without the amazing volunteers and community partners in our community.
Wow. 1 full-time and 3 part-time, and you're serving about how many people?
Well, we have just over 400 ESL learners, and right now we're at 20 pairs one-on-one, and we have a waiting list because I need more tutors to do
Right.
this. And then through our family literacy programs, I mean, we're seeing hundreds of kids a month.
Right.
With our programs, and we give out thousands and thousands of books in our community. There might be an event like at Juneteenth or, like when we had Jazz Fest or whatever. There's a Read to Succeed table, and we are giving out books.
Do you need books donated? Is that ever something you need?
Yes. In fact, we're actually going to be going to Siegel Elementary School on Thursday. We're so excited. Every year, Angela Pope, Miss Pope's 5th grade class, she does a book drive, and she made it a competition among classes. They have over 2,000 books for us.
That's phenomenal.
Yes.
Go Miss Pope and go
Yes.
her students.
Yes. So Siegel, we appreciate Miss Pope, and so things like that help us because there's another thing that we do that's starting up in the summer, and then we do it again now for all these brand new teachers, first-year teachers who've never taught before. If they teach in any school that's within the Rutherford County, because when I say Rutherford County, they all think Rutherford County schools. Any school that is within Rutherford County, if they are a brand new teacher, get to shop for 25 books for their classroom.
Very cool.
Because,
Very cool.
being a teacher, you want them to have those reading nooks and to help grow a reader, help get them excited about reading and having those reading nooks. But, when you're a first-year teacher, you spend a lot of money.
A lot.
So, these kind of donations help us give back to the community and help grow those home libraries and those class libraries.
Amazing. So we need long-term volunteers, we need periodic volunteers, we need book donations.
Gently used children's books. And when I say gently used, like nothing torn, no dog ears, nothing's been chewed on, like you would like to have that for your child if you see it. So gently used children's books.
And then financial contributions.
Yes. So we are a very small nonprofit, and with the small staff that we have, we are not doing fundraisers left and right. We do one fundraiser a year, and that's the Celebrity Spelling Bee. We have,
Which is so fun. It's such a cute event.
well, since, I think all the celebrities are folks that run nonprofits, but you can't ask people that run a nonprofit to come and help you raise money for yours. So,
Right.
But I have somebody in mind to be a speller for next year. I'm just saying.
Gee.
But so we only do one fundraiser a year. So we write a lot of grants and then just local donations and then the Celebrity Bee our fundraiser. That's how, but we're seeing more and more. I would like to grow this program and have maybe some tutoring for children and and bring more on, but we're just making it to continue the programs we have. I want to grow what we do, but in order to do that, we need a buy-in from the community
Right.
to help us get a more literate society. If I could say that in one sentence, more literate society.
And you shared your website, which is readtosucceed.org, and you're on the socials.
Yes, Facebook, Instagram, we have LinkedIn and Twitter. So we are out there and we're sharing what we do daily.
Well, very exciting. I hope everybody goes and checks it out and volunteers and brings books and goes to the spelling bee and donates and supports literacy in our community because it is such an important
Well, thank you.
issue.
And if you know of someone that is struggling, that they have given their heart to you, or if it's a family member, please let them know. Please, please let them know about this program because it can just open so many doors for them so they can have a better life.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us here today, Jolene. I'm so excited you were part of our podcast. And we always want to give a shout out to our amazing producer, Trent Denson, with Spread the Positive,
Woohoo.
bringing light to what's going right. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.